Hello, everybody. Frank Kenny here. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about this thing that I have wanted for the chamber industry for years and years and years, and that is a dashboard. And before we get too deep into that, and before we do introductions, I'd love to know for the chamber pros that's watching this, what chamber you're with, where you're watching this from. And are you using some kind of a dashboard currently? As far as I know, there's not a real good one that is for the entire chamber industry. So it'll be really interesting to see what chambers pros have been doing around data. I mean, if you want to have a data-driven organization, you want a dashboard. You want something that you can look at. But there hasn't been one until now. So finally, a data-driven dashboard. And again, for the chambers watching this, go ahead and put into the comment area what chamber you're with, where you're watching this from, and what are you doing around data at your chamber. Let's jump into introductions. Aaron, how are you?
Very good. How are you, Frank? And how's everybody doing?
Good, good. And Chris or Christine? You like Chris, right, Chris?
Yeah, I like Chris, but okay. I go by both.
Fantastic. Well, let's do introductions here and then start talking about dashboards and data. Aaron, you brought me this thing. Can you do a quick little self-introduction?
Oh, absolutely. My name's Aaron Howard. I'm the president and CEO of Mass Ingenuity, and I'm just delighted to be here today with Christine. Frank, I reached out to you because I knew the exciting work that you were doing with the chambers, and it's just a pleasure to be here today and to be able to talk about dashboards and the power for chambers.
And people should know that Aaron and I go way back. We're going to share some funny things here in a few minutes. But Chris, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Christine Barker, I go by Chris. I am in Portland, Oregon. I am the results product manager, and I do all the training and support for our product. And I'm just really thrilled to be with you here today. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for making the time. And we're getting a little feedback, so maybe keep yourself muted when you're not talking there. Let's make sure my volume's down. Also getting a little bit of feedback. All right, so Aaron, let's talk a little bit here about why you and I are kind of teaming up a little bit on this dashboard. I'm not getting paid to do this. This is entirely Aaron's company. And your partners. But when Aaron approached me, he did because we go back like 30 years. Is it 30 years, Aaron, do you think?
Actually, it's 29.
Yeah, that's right. We're not old enough that it couldn't possibly be 30 years. But I owned a small chain of stores with my brother, George. And Aaron, who was a super successful venture capitalist, is kind of what we always termed Aaron. We didn't know too much about Aaron other than he was incredibly successful, and he happened to have another house on an island near where one of our shops was. And Aaron would come in when he was in town, and when he was in town, he came in. It was kind of a real regular thing. And we struck up a friendship with Aaron. And even though he was this incredibly super successful business guy, he agreed to be on our informal board of directors. And for years, just really helped us out. And he was just the super successful business guy that just gave and gave and gave to us. Hey, Aaron, this is my chance to maybe give back a little bit. You have a tool for the chamber industry, and I got the audience. So anyway, do you want to share anything about how far back we go, Aaron, there?
Absolutely. And thank you, by the way, for the compliments. When I met you, and for that matter, your brothers, what I really was struck by was how much you were giving to the community at the time. That community, Allen, Washington, has grown a great deal now. But back then, it was pretty small. And it needed folks like you who were bringing business and bringing a place to meet. Actually, what struck me was that you had created a sense of community before it became commonplace with the internet. And that was a very powerful thing. And it made me realize just how much influence you or others could have. Of course, I enjoyed the shop. It was a wonderful place. I still have many of the things that we bought. And I did enjoy coming in, having a cup of coffee, and talking about what would be cool for the area, because it's a very cool area we lived in. Basically, what I learned was that all three of you really had just in heart and head the desire to make the area better. And of course, you've gone on now and carried forth in a much bigger way. So I'm just really pleased to be able to stay connected like this and to bring something of value to you and your and the folks that you are talking to.
I appreciate that. And again, for the chambers that are watching this, I'd love to know what chamber you're with, where you're watching this from, and are you currently using any kind of dashboard, something that really helps you in your business? And Aaron, it's about time to jump really into this, into the meat of this. So there's going to be people watching this that they probably heard the term dashboard, but they don't really know what it is. So what is a dashboard, and why do we even need one?
Okay, I've successfully done the most difficult thing, which is to make sure that I got through the technology. And Frank, would you just verify that you see the first slide?
Yeah, let me bring it up. There you go. Everybody should be seeing your slide there, Aaron.
Okay, great. Well, actually, this first slide kind of speaks directly to what you just brought up. You know, what we hope to do today is to show you how simple dashboards can make such a huge difference in both communications with folks like your boards, as well as managing staff and activities, and of course, offer a special offer for chamber professionals today. But you know, dashboards really come down to if you can see it, you can do it. And it's really important to be able to visualize the data that makes a difference in running your companies or your associations.
So when we were talking about this first time, you came to me and said, "Hey, I think I got something for the chamber industry and potentially the members of the chamber industry." And it's this dashboard. And I said, you know what? I teach the data class for the U.S. Chamber Institute program. You know, I've been 7-8 years. I've been going to the various sites for Institute and teaching the data class. And there's never been a really good dashboard for the chamber industry. And you know, you and I started talking about, you know, the value of a dashboard, and used analogy around a car, driving a car without a dashboard. Can you kind of share that to kind of really unpack what a dashboard is?
Absolutely. All too often we use buzzwords, you know, all of us in our business or technology, and it's a real shame because there's a real basic concept here. A dashboard is a way of driving a car. For those of us who have had maybe very old cars, remember the really cool round dials that today are represented digitally, but they were really cool. They told us if we had gas or a mileage or whatever, we had a compass or whatever we had to guide ourselves. And you know, that's what a dashboard is. It's the ability to drive, or if you're into airplanes, fly an airplane and be able to be not blind, but rather aware of where you're going, how you're going, and if you're going to get there. That's really a
And
dashboard.
without a dashboard, you're kind of flying blind. I mean, you're guessing that things are okay. And that's not a very good way to get to a destination. So the dashboard just kind of makes your life easier and helps you manage staff, helps you report to your board. But there's always been technology issues and things of that nature with dashboards. Did you want to add on to that, Aaron, or did you want to just continue on your presentation?
I think the only thing I would add is that I had a very visceral experience early on. I was a pilot for many, many years. And in doing so, eventually I became proficient with instrument flying. And nothing makes you realize how important a dashboard is until you're flying essentially blind in the clouds. And it just brings home the fact that without a dashboard, we really don't know where we're at or where we're going. And what's really bizarre about business is all of us have had the experience of running some kind of business, knowing we need to deal with the data, knowing we need to visualize how successful we are, and not being able to do it. And that's really the purpose today, is to show you how to overcome that.
Fantastic. So go ahead and go through your slides here, and I'll ask you questions. And then for those of you in the audience, if you have questions for Aaron and Chris, just go ahead and post them. And we got some time here, so we're going to really unpack this new tool that Aaron's bringing to the chamber industry and maybe your members. So go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Even though we're using slides and all, this is meant to be very interactive. So Frank, I'll let you guide us on any questions that come up. But you know, what we're going to cover today, we've actually got already started. We've done the introductions, albeit I have a few little stories about the past that I think are kind of fun. However, we're going to talk about the data problem. We're going to talk about how the software actually works, and then talk about the offer that we'd like you guys to take advantage of. That's really what we're going to be doing today, and it's all about how can everybody drive to greater success in business with data.
Good stuff.
But before we do that, it's time to go a little bit down memory lane and talk a little bit about the history again, but this time in pictures. Oh, in the center, of course, is what became of the Coffee Readery over time. I drive by the chainsaw carving place. Bear in a box is actually what the sign says. And I drive by that every day. And every day reminds me of what Frank and now his brothers, of course, continue to do. And it's just phenomenal because they become very much what Alan is about. Over on the right, you can see that Frank has not aged a bit. And over on the left, represents the kind of activity that occurred. And again, I just want to emphasize that, you know, we can talk about dashboards and data and all that kind of stuff, but it always comes down to, do the people that are involved, do they have real life experiences that can really benefit from the sort of things we're doing with technology? And without a doubt, Frank, you know, you're proving that every day with what you're doing, and we believe we are too, and that's what we're going to really share. But anyway, a little memory lane. I suspect you remember that picture, Frank.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know my history too much, my brother was an artist and I was a business guy, degree in finance. And my brother started this business in Washington, in Allen, Washington, 1993. It had coffee, espresso, it had couches, it had art on the walls. It was Friends 2 years before Friends went on TV. And it worked really well. We had 4 locations after a while, 12 years in it. I was involved in the chamber, on the board, chairman of the board, elected chairman of the board. And then I went off to run the chamber as president and CEO. And my brother still is a world-class chainsaw carver. Then people come from all over the world to his shop there in Allen. And you're still in Allen, Aaron, I assume?
Yes, we're on Treasure Island, which you alluded to. It's just outside of Allen with an Allen address. And you bet, this is part of our life every day. We see these folks.
And it's so funny that we're finally doing a business deal together. And again, I'm not getting paid to do this. This isn't a promotion for Aaron's business necessarily. It's just he brought me something that would be a huge solution to a problem chambers have had. So enough about memory lane there, I guess.
Indeed. Well, we'll move on. You've met me, Aaron, and you've met Chris. During the course of the conversation, you're going to meet Milo. Milo happens to be a bot, but a very nice bot, and one that we've integrated into the product so that we can take advantage of technology to provide support, help, and dialogue and conversation 24/7. So more about Milo in a moment. And of course, we're from Mass Ingenuity. And we're not going to spend much time on the history of the company. However, I'll just tell you that we began in 2009, and we've been dedicated that entire time to helping businesses grow by visualizing their data. That's who we are. Well, before showing the software, I think it's really important for us to talk about what problem are we solving. This slide is designed to sort of outline the problem at kind of its highest and most base level. I'm going to ask Frank to talk to it in just a moment. But what I'd like to say is that we've recognized with all of our customers that data is something they know they have to use, and data has always been a challenge to sort of, first of all, manage, let alone get to the point where you can make an insightful decision and really do something different with it. Yes, parts of it work just fine, and the rest of the time it doesn't. So, Frank, would you mind kind of putting some meat on the bones relative to the chamber industry and the problem we're solving?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So when Aaron and I connected on this, he said, you know, we've got this software that we got these big giant clients all over the country, but we're going to start reaching out to smaller and medium-sized businesses. And we're thinking the chamber industry would be a great conduit for you. Could I tell you about, you know, this tool that we have? And he started asking me about, you know, is there a tool in the chamber industry that helps you understand where you are, you know, a dashboard? And I said, you know what, there isn't, and it'd be great if there was, because chamber professionals have a board of directors, 12, 14, 17 people that are supposed to know where the chamber is on any given day. You know, that's their fiduciary duty. That's their responsibility, is the financial well-being of the chamber, and is the chamber membership growing? Is the non-dues revenue where it should be? Is the event attendance where it should be? All these numbers. But if you ask a chamber board person, you know, where do we stand on any of that kind of stuff, chances are they're going to look at you with deer in the headlights. And that's a real problem, especially because as a CEO of a chamber, you spend a day or two a month, like before your board meeting, crunching all these numbers, pulling all the spreadsheets, you know, pulling the data from whatever back office you're using, and the website, your Google Analytics, and all these, and you try to present to your board of directors the financial health of the organization, and it's a mess. You know, a lot of times you pull all this together, but they still don't get kind of where the chamber's at. If we're hitting our goals, if the staff is successful, they don't really know. It's always kind of like, what have you done for me lately? Because they just don't know. And then you know, if you do run into problems, they're kind of like, how come you didn't tell us about this? Well, I send you a board packet every meeting. You don't look at it. And it's just so frustrating, because I've been in your guys' seat. I ran a chamber for 4 years. I had board meetings. Monthly board meetings are a ton of work to prepare for. You sweat during most of them because you never know where it's going to go. Is somebody's going to ask some question off the wall that, you know, they should have called you on, but they'll instead do it at a board meeting. And so it's just terribly frustrating trying to get your board to understand your financial well-being as a chamber. And Aaron says, I got a solution for you. And then I started talking about, well, and if you have a team in the chamber industry, you generally hire good people for marketing or sales or membership or events or whatever it is, and you let them do their job. You don't micromanage. We're not really big on micromanagers. We hire good people and we tell them to, you know, go forth and be successful. And you trust them, but you still have a responsibility to know the numbers. Are we on track for membership sales? I don't really know. I'd have to reach out and ask, you know, are we on track for event attendance? How are we trending on all these kind of numbers? You know, it's kind of like the data is there. I mean, if you got the time and an interest in Excel spreadsheets and going into Google Analytics and going into this and going into that and going into this, we're drowning in data. It's all there. It just, we cannot sit down at our computer and bring up a dashboard that tells us we're on track to hit our goals in A, B, and C. We're a little bit behind in D, and we got a real problem in E and F. And we know that if we knew that, we would tackle, you know, E and F, and we'd know what to tackle. But we don't have that. It's kind of like we're always playing catch up on trying to figure out, you know, like, how did we do? You know, and it's like, that's hindsight. I need something that's current, that tells me, are we a healthy organization? And Aaron says, this is what we've been doing for big companies. We're going to do it for small and medium companies now. And so, Aaron, I don't know if I explained that kind of what you were looking for, but that's kind of how the conversation went.
Indeed, that is how it went. And thank you. You know, because of your, you know, experience and all, you can describe it in terms that I would not be able to, or might not even choose not to do. So I really appreciate it. Very real problem. The drowning needs to be solved. And let's take a look now at how we can do it. We'll take just a moment to tell you what it is we're going to show you, and then show you. Result software is actually built for everyone. It's true that we built it for medium and large organizations. It's absolutely true. And we did that because we wanted to build an application that solved a problem that existed virtually everywhere. Frank actually just described it, because the problems he outlined relative to data and preparation, communications, and getting results exists everywhere. We serve markets from healthcare to the public sector, state government, to, of course, commercial and industrial applications. And in every case, the great folks there say the same thing. We're just drowning in data, don't know what to do. So that's the problem we set out to solve. We have 3 versions of it, an enterprise version for those big companies, but we knew all along from the very beginning that we wanted to be in the small, medium marketplace. We love it. Many of us came from there. And so we have Team and Pro versions that actually are very accessible. I assure you that the software is fully functional in all cases and very easy to learn and use. In fact, Chris will be talking about that in just a bit. but it's very easy to get started and to maintain it and keep on going. So it's built for the big ones, but it's very, very effective all the way down to teams of 5 or less. So let's take a look. The next few screens are going to really introduce you to the software. I'm just going to say a couple things about it and hand it over to Chris, because as product manager, she deals with the software, our customers, and our developers every single day. And it's top of mind for her when it comes to how we are helping people get results. This is the home screen. And as you can see, it's very simple, it's very clean. And with those big 6 icons, you can virtually get everything done that needs to be getting done. And that's really important. There's nothing worse than software that starts out hard and gets more difficult. We started out simple, and we have a very simple and a very important philosophy. And that's that you can get to anywhere you need to get to in 2 clicks or less. I'm going to now hand this over to Chris. Chris, if you don't mind, work your magic, and I'll leave it on this screen till you tell me to move.
All right. Well, there's some, maybe, yes. There's some back. Maybe Aaron and Frank could mute. I'm getting some back feed. Okay, that's better. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, Aaron. So like Aaron said, this is our home page, and the software, I can usually get a user up and running in less than a half hour. And we're going to go through kind of what are the core views that you get with your metrics. So I'm going to show you. Aaron, let's click on to the next. Okay. So when you're in a group of measures, you're going to see this repeat. We have 4 views, 4 dashboard views that you get. So you have the list, chart, summary, and detail. We're in the list view. And so without even going down into the weeds, we get a lot of information about your metrics. You can set thresholds on your targets on what defines, red and green. You can also have kind of an early warnings area of yellow as well. You see your measure names, you see the trend line there, you see the current value, and then you see who owns the measure. So who's managing the activities and really kind of driving that area of your chamber of business. The great thing with this user management system, you can email your members of your team. So if you have a question for Frank on the retention rate, things of that nature, you can stay right in the software, click on his name, and send him an email. The other thing is that you'll notice on the very bottom metric, there's a little white symbol, and that one has a related action plan. So there's revenue per member, it's off, our targets. We have some activities, maybe a campaign underway that's trying to try to get that metric on track. So I can click on that measure and look at that related action plan that we are trying to get this back on track right here. Now we're going to go into our chart view in our next slide. Okay, so when I click on chart view, this is the view that I get. I get a little bit more information about our metrics. I can actually understand what the metric's about by seeing the measure impact. I understand the calculation, what's in scope, what are the counting rules. And then I can go, if we were actually in the software, you can hover over the bars and the data values will pop up. And in addition, the threshold values and the targets will also show when I hover over the bars. The thing that I want to call your attention to is over to the right, you see Frank's picture and his name, and you see comments there. The data value is only one piece of the pie here. What does it mean? What are we doing? What is our reflection? If we trended and we went up and we're in the green, what were the activities? What did we do to achieve that success? If we had a backslide, what are reflections of what caused it? Again, creating that communication and that team alignment on what are our goals and activities to drive success. Again, what are we telling our board? What are we telling amongst the conversations, communications among the team? This application allows us to feed this information so we're having the right conversations versus all the time being spent on loading it into Excel and trying to create some visualizations. The time that is critical is on the conversations and the reflections. Okay, Aaron, next slide. Oh, one last thing I forgot is that when you're in chart view, you can also print your charts. So if you want to go ahead and print your charts, you'll get a PDF. You can email it off to a board member or an external stakeholders or just within your team as well. So again, all these are printable. Okay. And then we're in our measure summary. So measure summary is what you would suspect. How are we doing? What's the highest elevation? How many metrics are, we're doing well? Which ones need some help? I like to also point out that you can track. So as your chamber, you're maturing on your data, you can add measures to this. So as the measures are being added to your scorecard and you haven't yet started your data collections or you're just tracking things informational, you'll see that there's two other colors there, the yellow and the black. So as things are being added onto your scorecard, you can track your progress on actually getting the data in and defining your thresholds. So that, call that out. And then the final one is on details. Okay, so this is a different view, and this is where we want to kind of dig into it. The first thing I'll call your attention to is the days remaining. So it tracks my due dates and when my data is due. So as someone that's maybe the measure owner, that's very helpful. And I see the actual date that's due. There's an underlying notification system. So if you want to get emails, again, it's attached to your email, you can get those notifications. You can see that the measure name and the owner are in blue. So I can click right here and view my chart. Or again, I can click right here and send the measure owner an email and have a dialogue about that metric and the activities related to it. You'll also see that there's a search field. So as your list of metrics grows and you want to search for a particular measure, you can search on that keyword of the measure name. Or you want to just drill down and only have a conversation on your red measures, you can shorten that list and look at red. The other thing is that you can copy and paste this list into email, a Word document, a board report. You can also download it as an Excel table, again, to make the easy transmittal of information quick and fast, and you can have the right conversations with your board or your team members as well. All right, Erin, I think I'm turning it over to you. Thanks, Erin.
Spends every day working with our customers in terms of how to take these three views and really maximize how they use their time. She mentioned the idea that it's a real shame to take valuable time that none of us have extra of, and then spend it on preparation and dealing with the technology or wrestling with Excel. We've all been there, and it's a real struggle. And one of the things that we are just most happy about is that the application replaces all of that struggle with being able to take the time to see what the data says, think about it, talk to people, communicate, and then make decisions, which is fantastic. It's such a relief. I use it in everything I do for the same reason. What we also wanted to share with you is that software today needs to have lots and lots of help and tips, techniques. And so we do it in two major ways. First of all, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a help button. And if one clicks on that help button, you get a pop-down. And in the pop-down, there are articles, there's an access to a learning center, and access to our website, which has lots of valuable information. And the approach we've taken here is to package up the learnings we've had over the last 10 some years, and we do this continually, and package that up so it's accessible to everybody. We have articles, we have case studies, use cases, we have glossaries, all kinds of valuable information, all available free and easy to get to. We also have a lot of videos. Some of us, I happen to be one of them, kind of prefers video. And so I really like the idea that I can learn something by watching a quick video, and we have many, many of those as well. So that's one way of getting access, of course, at any time to valuable help. In addition, we mentioned Milo, and Milo is a bot. And that bot has been trained by us, of course, to essentially do our bidding in a way that we think works for our customers, namely to be there at 24/7 at all times. If I click that button, which I'll do right now, then this is what happens. I instantly get a dialogue capability with Milo. It allows me to send messages. Those messages will go to Chris, or they might go to me, or any number of our staff. If it's after hours, those messages will be teed up and we'll get notifications. But in real time, you can ask questions. You can type in, what does chart mean? What does a subscription mean? And instantly get an answer to that. Plus, there's access to all kinds of helpful articles also presented by Milo in real time, as well as text and videos. So what's really cool about this is that Milo is just another piece of technology, but we've been able to train it and program it so that it can be there at 24/7, always available to either answer the question or make sure that when business hours come around, somebody gets on it right away for you. Pretty exciting stuff.
Good stuff.
Well, Frank, it's time to talk a little bit about the actual offer, and I'm going to ask you to kick this off, and then I'll take it from there.
So again, when I was talking to Aaron about this software, and I was telling him this would be amazing for chambers, but chambers are kind of tight on money. They're nonprofits, but that's just a business model. They're tax designation rather. There are some chambers out there that are large chambers, big staff, $149 a month, $249 a month, not a problem. But there's a lot of smaller and medium-sized chambers to where that's going to be tough. And I'd love for the chamber industry to be able to access this dashboard. And Aaron and I were talking about, he wants to help the chambers. I want to help the chambers. Let's see if we can't bring this in some way to the chamber industry where it's totally affordable for the chambers, and a little bit like the constant contact model, to where 4,000 chambers use constant contact. And the deal is, when you use constant contact, you share with your members that, hey, you should be using constant contact too, or you should check out constant contact. And that's kind of the deal. And Aaron said, you know what, we'll do it at 90% off. So instead of $149 a month, it's $14 a month. So, Aaron, did you want to take it from there?
Yes. Thank you, by the way, for teeing it up. Without question, what we wanted to do was take the obstacle of the cost away, so that you all can take advantage of this. And of course, what we want to have happen is, ideally, this will solve your problems, and it'll be something that you'll want to actually share with your members. That'd be fantastic. But first things first, we want to make this accessible for you. Just so you know, Team is up to 5 users, and then Pro is up to 10 users. And there's a way to extend Pro should one want more. But nevertheless, it's 2 ways to just get a nice bite-size startup for results. In both cases, it's fully functional. And as you can see, we're going to make sure that there's an easy way for you to get it. There's a one URL there listed right here. And it'll be very important. Enter the Frank 90 coupon in the shopping cart, and you will get your discount. And when you say buy, when you click the buy button, within 3 to 5 minutes, you will have confirmation of your order and a fully provisioned software with instructions on how to log in. And here's the cool part. It comes preloaded with data that Frank helped us to develop, so that you don't have to start from scratch or have a blank piece of paper. I know what I feel like when I get a new application that's blank. I have to think too hard. So in this case, it comes with data that's representative. It has data samples. It has a sample document. It even has a sample project. And so it's ready to go, and you can start with that or put your own in. And of course, we give you lots of help in terms of how to move forward.
So let me just add here that I asked, well, Aaron, is that just going to be for a few months so they can kick the tires? And he said, no, I'll grandfather it in. If they come in at the 90% off, they stay at 90% off. But it's a limited number of licenses. So he's not going to do this for hundreds and hundreds of chambers. It's just, if you're watching this, if you're going to take advantage of this, and it's not entirely free, because we want people to actually have some skin in the game. So often when you get a totally free piece of software, you just set it aside. So it's $15 a month or $25 a month, depending on the size of your chamber. And it's a limited number of licenses. So if you're going to sign up, you might as well do it. Claim that one of the openings, one of the seats, and then it's grandfathered in. As long as you're, making your monthly payments, it's going to stay at the 90% off. If you have questions about any of this, go ahead and put it into the question fields. And I think now we'll just start tackling questions. Does that sound okay, Aaron?
It does. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see you guys again. Okay.
Great. And Chris, you had something?
I just wanted to say also to help the onboarding and to provide you a good customer experience, we're offering anyone that signs up this week or even next week, we're offering a training on this Friday and the following Friday. So once you purchase your account, you'll get an email with the training times for and the URL to join that training session. So encourage everyone to take advantage of that.
So that's pretty huge. They're not just throwing you guys to the wolves. They're doing hands-on training. And I've gone through it, and it just made it super easy. And it allowed me to think about, all right, in the chamber industry, and maybe people watching this saw that for the last few months, we've been working on this for a few months. I've been posting in the group, if you had a dashboard, what would be the most important numbers to you? And I heard things like, well, retention. I need to know what's our current retention rate at any given moment so that I'm comfortable with our retention rate. And then others said membership sales, and others said website visitors, which I was grateful to hear, because in the chamber industry, we don't count that. We don't go into Google Analytics as often as we should to see how many visitors are we getting to the website, how many sales are we getting from that, and what's our conversion rate on our website sales, because that's the thing nowadays. If you measure it, you will get it, or that number will improve. So this is completely customizable, right, Aaron? It's like I started them out with 7 main things that they should be measuring. But if a chamber goes, you know what, but I need to measure X. Well, they can measure X too, right?
Indeed. It's very customizable, and Chris will be showing folks how to very easily set up new measures that are appropriate for each and individual.
Fantastic. I got questions rolling in. You guys okay with going into question mode?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Somebody asked me earlier that they're up in Canada. Is there any reason this wouldn't work in Canada?
Oh, not a bit. It functions really well in Canada and many other places. And just so you all know, many of our developers are actually Canadian.
Fantastic. So they say about. I'm from Detroit.
They do.
Hello, Canadian friends. A lot of people wanted to know how much is this integrated with the other services, and how does that work? Are there APIs? How does that all work?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot. So with our enterprise customers, we do a great deal of integration. So we integrate with everything from CRM to ERP to finance and all. And of course, those are fairly complicated things, but we're quite capable at it. And we have several different ways that we integrate. API is one of them, but there's several others. And that capability in the offer of Team and Pro is inherently still there. However, what we would encourage everybody to do is to start with the basics. Start by putting in just the product, the measures that you are most interested in. And since you can enter the data so fast, just start there. As anybody's individual needs for integration arise, come talk to us.
Okay. I kind of like the idea that if, let's say you've done your board retreat and you've done a strategic plan, and the board has told you that we want to see you focus on A, B, and C. Now, finally, you know how they're judging you. You finally have, the board says A, B, and C is what's important. So then you go to your results software, you plug in A, B, and C and how you're going to measure it. And then you go to the sources of those. Let's say they said, we need to grow the website. The website needs more traffic. So you go to Google Analytics. Maybe you bookmark it in your browser so you know exactly what source of data you want out of Google Analytics, and you grab that data. If that's your job, if you're the person responsible for the website growing, you grab your data, you put it into results, and you see, are you in the red? Are you in the yellow? Are you now in the green? And you can print that off and send that to the board, or you can send it to another person. Am I right about all this, Aaron and Chris?
What I would say is that one of the benefits of actually logging in and putting in your own data, it forces you to look at the data. Sometimes when you have that data feed and it's just going in and you're like, oh, yep, I got to get to that. Oh, but you know what? I have a phone call. I have this, I have that, right? And you just it never gets to the top of your list. So there's something to be said for actually logging in and loading in the data. Then you automatically see how it compares to the last period. And then you think, what does that mean? Yay or ooh, like we got to have a conversation. Like it's still not trending the way we need it to. So, and to load data, once you have your metrics set up, it's date recorded, the value, hit add. It's super fast. And it's that reflection time on what that data is telling you is the highest added value. You're muted.
That's in the lexicon now. That's right in the dictionary. So when you're having your staff meeting, Erin, it'd be really good to, all right, let's print out the dashboard and everybody would be ready to talk about your KPIs or your metrics that you're responsible for, right?
Yes, indeed. And if in fact your staff meeting is remote, everybody's in a different location, that might happen, right? No problem. Everybody can just sign in and look at the same data at the same time without having to do anything special.
And it's all in the cloud. You just get a username, password, and whether you're working from home or working somewhere else, you just log in and see where you stand or update your data.
Yes, that's correct. It's all cloud-based, and you can use your laptop or a smart pad or a smartphone. It all works.
What about security? That means that, I don't know, do you have to worry about somebody else getting a hold of your data?
Yeah, security, is it's a tough topic, right? Because it comes up every day. We see it in the news. God forbid if we've had to experience it in our own organizations in terms of a breach. Security is important. Here's our commitment. We had to make this commitment early on. So the application is actually full HIPAA compliant. Now, that means that it meets all the requirements of healthcare. That alone is very powerful. In addition, it meets the requirements, something called NIST 800, which affects virtually any organization. It's FedRAMP, that's just fancy for it passes federal muster, and it's also European compliant with their requirements. And so we've really taken steps to ensure that a breach is very difficult, and that was important and a requirement at the enterprise level that we bring to every application, so everybody will have the same level of security and protection.
Very good. But Chris, this thing. Oh, did you want to add to that, Chris?
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we picked Microsoft Azure, right, to build our application on. So we get all the robustness that Microsoft has, and they're constantly making, they're behind our back, right, and looking out for just the underlying structure, so that we have that benefit. The other thing related to security, in case folks are wondering, is that everyone has a permission level in the software, so you can only edit what you own. So I can add data from my measures, everyone else. So if I own employee engagement, I'm responsible to add that data in the comments. Erin only looks at it, for an example. So even amongst the team, right, we have that security built in on who's touching what and who's making edits to what. Yeah,
good stuff. And while I have you, Chris, what about it does project management too, right? I mean, it's not just measuring the metrics for our project. It actually helps you manage the project. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this is all about, at the highest elevation, is like, what are our desired goals and outcomes? What are we measuring? What are the activities under there? And so part of the activities isn't just the process measures of, how many times I'm doing something, but then kind of on the different major phase gates of the work. So if I have a marketing campaign and I want to keep the team, all in alignment on what our goals for that project are, what are the phase gates, what are the due dates, I can use the project functionality to give that executive summary of where we are as a team, tie the metric related to it as well. So again, we have that alignment. You can also upload related documents. So again, everything's in one location. So I can look at the metric, look at the major milestones of the project, keep everyone informed, and then download any related documents that have extra information that's needed for the team.
So it sounds like it's not just the dashboard. You actually got project management in there and a document holder or a document share. So it's multiple tools, and more you can put in one place, the better. Did you want to speak at all to that, Erin, or did I cover that?
Oh, no, you covered it very well. It is kind of a one-stop shopping approach, but that really trivializes the fact that none of us have time to hunt for stuff. So if, as Chris pointed out, if I can get the document I need for the campaign I'm studying, make sure the campaign's on track, and then be able to look at the measures and share with the board, look how well it's going. Or if it isn't, what am I doing to fix it? That's powerful.
Yeah, that is good stuff. What if somebody's got a team of 6 people? You don't necessarily need 6 licenses, right? Because a couple of people, this is, well, maybe you could just speak to that, Aaron. Do you always need a license for every single employee or not?
No. You're going to have, in any organization, you're going to have people that need to have access to the application, and that's going to really define the number of users. So, as an example, if you have 6 people total, but really only 3 need to be in the product, well, then just get a team. You don't need to move up to pro.
Gotcha. All right, we got a stack of questions there. Norma's feeding me questions. Go ahead, Chris.
One more is that you can also have outside users. So you can have your chamber, and if you decided you wanted to give your board direct access, even though they're on a different user email system, they can have direct access if you choose to.
That would be very handy sometimes with giving the treasurer access to a financial thing, or giving the board CEO, or not CEO, but chairman of the board, access to the goals that came out of the strategic planning session. I could see where that would be very handy to have that extra license there. So this doesn't replace the current CRM. Like most chambers, the vast majority of chambers are using either Chamber Master or Atlas or Chamber Nation or one of the CRMs, and they've been using them a long time, and they're also using QuickBooks. So this doesn't replace your CRM or QuickBooks, does it?
No. Whatever folks are using for their CRM, for finance, or any other application of that nature, keep on using it. It's doing the right job. What this does is it solves the problem that none of those applications provide a vehicle for managing results or success. They really are managing the operations.
That's right. They're the back office. That makes sense. So somebody's asking, what are the populated fields that Frank suggested? I think I posted in the group. You might want to do a group search for what I kind of narrowed down. We started with 15 and I got it down to 7, and I don't have them right in front of me, but I can definitely share that. I'll go back to the comments and I'll put those in there. But if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. Just because what I asked the group what they wanted to see in this doesn't mean that what you want to see is exactly those 7. So people can just switch those out. Or even, Chris, is there a limit to the number of things you can count or measure?
No, there's no limit, and we've made it really easy. So if you don't like Frank's measure, you can just edit and modify it. So, and if you don't want, website hits, you want website something else, you would just update the name of it, calculation. Maybe Frank set it up to be a quarterly measure. You want it to actually report data on monthly. So you can just quickly hit edit and make those quick adjustments and save the changes. You can also just keep expanding your list as you get ready to report on more metrics.
Good deal. Is there a contract here, Aaron? If somebody signs up and it's not for them or for whatever, are they stuck or can they move away?
Oh, that's a great question, because I think all of us have had that experience one time or another. So when folks sign up, they do that through, of course, a online shopping cart. And should they change their mind, there's a link that allows them to go in and request a cancellation.
Okay, so just cancel at any time. Can you elaborate on the standard user dashboards and why more might be better? We only have a staff of 3. Let me reread this. Can you elaborate on the standard user dashboards and why more might be better? We only have a staff of 3. What do you think they're talking about there, Aaron?
Oh, I was thinking about the first time around. I'm not exactly sure what the more refers to. Do you have any sense?
No, I don't. Whoever posted this question, maybe you could reiterate it so we can understand it, or maybe we already covered it. There are several people have posted that they already had their question answered. And we already talked about this. Is there a way to show this to the board of directors and not count them as users? So yeah, you can print out anything and share with the board. You can print out what you do an export, Chris, if it's a PDF or something?
So anytime you're looking at charts, you have a print button that will show, and you could adjust the date ranges on your charts, and the comments then will also appear under the charts. So then it creates a PDF that you can email. If you want it more in a table view, like an Excel table, you can do that under measure detail, where you can then download that Excel table, print it, or just email it off.
All right. And if people have like questions that we don't get to today, because I still got a little stack here, just leave it in the comments and I'll reach out to Chris and Aaron.
Yeah, can I also add too that, especially with our virtual world of COVID that we're living in, a lot of times what my clients will do is that when they're having, say, the board meeting, is that they might be in the product, right? Because the board member might have a question and you might want to dig deeper on look at historical comments or change the date range on your chart, right? So in live mode, you have that flexibility, right? That interactive. And then at the end of the meeting, then they would print the charts as kind of the record and email those off to the board members. So that's kind of more a more dynamic approach to how you would have your board meetings with the application.
Fantastic. All right, we answered that one already. So if I have a board of directors of 14 members, do I need, the 10-seat pro? And you don't. You don't need just, you're buying the licenses for number of staff people that are going to be inside the software. So if you have 3 employees, you need 3 licenses, even if you have a board of 15.
Yeah, and what I would say on that too, Frank, right? They might decide that, like, if there's a secretary of the board, like, maybe someone that needs to pull out information, and that might be the coordination with a meeting, right? It's always would be helpful to have maybe one board member have that access. Or if there's a board member, even for a limited time, right? You can go up and down with your membership. So if you're doing like a campaign or strategic initiative where you have a board member that's very active in that work, you can add them for, say, the 2 or 3 months that you need that board member's involvement, and then turn them off when they're not needed.
Yeah, so that brings to mind that you might have a volunteer committee or somebody working on a project. All of a sudden, now you have a way to track how they're doing towards reaching the goals of the committee. When they're done, when that task force is done, you take away the license.
Turn them off, right? And so if you buy Pro, right, you can go up to 5 with no additional charge, right? So then you can just turn them on, and when they're not needed, you turn them off, and then you reuse that license. It's not like you have to upgrade.
Okay. Let me see if any other questions here have popped in. Norma, are you bringing me any others? Are we good? We're running down to the last minutes here, so I just want to, Aaron and Chris, can people reach out to you with additional questions? Email good, or or just send them to the website? What do you think?
Yes. So the very last slide, which you have, Frank, has our contact information, specifically our email. And yeah, they're absolutely welcome to do that, or click on Milo, or whatever they would like to do. And then I'll just trust that you'll disperse that information.
All right. Yeah. Once this is done, I'll put it into the comments. Let me see if there's any other questions here. Anything that I didn't ask, Aaron or Christine, that you just want to add before we're done here in just a couple minutes?
No, I think you covered the most stuff. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, the other thing I'll add is that, as your organization gets comfortable with using metrics, you're going to make changes. And you can turn off measures and turn them back on. And so you can adjust as you learn and mature your organization, and then go from there.
Okay, good stuff. Can you guys see the question that I just posted? Libby wants to know what time the training sessions are Friday.
Yeah. So
Go ahead, Chris. What time was that again?
Well, I'm just going to double check, make sure my memory is correct. All right. So this coming Friday, I did one from 11 to 12 Pacific time. And then the following Friday, I did it at 1 to 2 Pacific time. So this Friday, it's morning Pacific time. Next week, it's afternoon. So 11 this week, 1 next week.
Fantastic. Here's another question. Kind of fancy how I can just post these up on the screen.
I actually like that a lot, Frank. That's cool.
That's fun. What are the different types of charts available? Chris?
Yeah, so our application just has the bar charts. You actually can have a different type of a bar chart where you have the red, yellow, and green as kind of areas in the background of that. And then you also have some dashboards down the road. If you decide that you need a different type of visualization, we can work with you on an add-on and create some custom types of charts for your needs.
Good stuff. How about this question? How soon could we be up and running with this?
You could be up and running in, I would say, a day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really because your account you would get same day, like Aaron said, 3 to 4 minutes. And then, it's just really, most of the time is spent you reflecting on what metrics you need. The time to create those metrics in the software and the time to actually learn the software is just a few hours. And especially now, I'll have these 2 trainings and then I'm going to schedule more. So we're here to help you. And December 15th, that easily, you would be up and running.
Fantastic. Just a few others, and then we'll call it a day here. If someone wants to know if this is recorded, yep, they can watch it later. I don't know how many licenses you're going to do at this discounted price, Aaron. I know you can't do a lot, but so I can't guarantee that I'll always have the licensing special, but I will leave the recording up. Here's a nice comment. Wow, that is amazing. So that's cool. Wow, thank you so much for making this so accessible. So that's good. Sold, Karen. That's very cool. Somebody wants to do a demo. Why don't we start wrapping it up with this question? If somebody wants to kick the tires a little extra, can you do a bit of a demo?
Yeah, so if you just go to our website and the little Milo, you can go ahead and send us a note and we can schedule a time to do a demo.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time and sharing this and bringing it to the chamber industry. I really think that if we can implement dashboards and know where we stand at any given time as a industry, I mean, it's kind of revolutionary. It's kind of like, and peace of mind. I mean, where all the different things that you've decided are important to you and the board, you're measuring them. And it's not guessing, you can see the numbers. And it should help you out with your staff, and it should help you out with your board. But just as a CEO of an organization, you want this, even if you weren't doing it for the board or to manage your staff, just for yourself, so you know the health of your organization. I think it's a really big deal. What final words, Aaron?
Yes. First of all, Frank, thank you. To all the participants, thank you very much for being here. Without vision and hope, we never go anywhere. Our vision for you is to solve the problem. And frankly, what we'd like you to do is sort of know that drowning effect that was described earlier, it can go away. All you have to do, take advantage of this particular offer, and you'll be off to the races. And we'll be there with you to help you. Thank you.
What about you, Christine? Any final words?
Yeah, just again, thank you for your time, everyone. And I hope that, I can help all of you. I mean, so I'm love to spend some more time with you. So go ahead and hopefully I can connect with you this Friday or next Friday.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much. Keep the questions coming. And Aaron and Chris, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.